One of the most common causes of problems in 3D printing is a clogged nozzle, whether it be a partially clogged nozzle leading to inconsistent or under extrusion, or a fully clogged nozzle that converts your extruder into some sort of blob monster is never a fun deal. Whilst there are things that you can do to fix a clogged nozzle, preventative is always the best cure, and luckily there's a pretty easy solution out there. Nozzle clogs can happen for a number of reasons, but more often than not they occur when you're moving from one material type to another. Regardless of how good your printer and your filament vendors are, there's usually a residue from your filament left inside the extruder and the nozzle. And depending on the difference in print settings between that filament and your next filament, you may experience issues. If you're moving from a low temperature filament such as PLA to a high temperature filament such as ABS, the residue of the PLA left in the extruder is going to melt faster than the ABS that the printer is set up for, and potentially could burn and therefore harden under the higher temperatures. Although this residue is only made up of very small particles, if there's enough of them and they build up over time, they could then bunch up and absolutely block your nozzle. Equally, if you're going from a high temperature filament such as ABS to a low temperature filament such as PLA, the ABS residue is not going to be melting at the PLA printing temperature and therefore again could result in a blocked nozzle. If this does happen to you, there's a number of things that you could do to try and clear your blocked nozzle. You could do a cold pull, which is where you manually pull the filament out the top of the extruder as it's cooling down. You could apply additional pressure, pushing down on the filament as it extrudes to try and push the blockage through the nozzle. Or you could use a particularly small tool to insert in the end of the nozzle and try and clear it out that way. Whilst all three of these can work, it is obviously extra effort, and the latter two may result in further damage to the printer or nozzle. Luckily, there is an easy preventative that can help stop this happening in the first place. This is from eSUN, and this is their cleaner filament. Effectively, this is just a filament that sticks well to other materials and can print at a huge temperature range from 160 to 300 degrees. This is actually a throwback to the very first video I made on this channel, where I was covering filament floss by Rigid Ink. That was essentially the same thing as this, and it was something I swore by for years. But unfortunately, Rigid Ink is not around anymore. Luckily, eSUN picked up where they left off. Now, it does just come in this non-resealable plastic bag, but because you're not printing with this, it doesn't really matter. You can just chuck it back in this bag, fold it over, whack a silica gel pack in there, but you don't need to worry too much about absorbing a load of moisture because it's not going to affect the performance of this filament. The other thing you may be thinking is, that does not look like much filament, and you're right, that's only 100 grams, but you only need to use 5 to 10 centimeters of this per use, and you're only going to be using it every few days or every few weeks, or if you're not printing very often, every few months, so this is going to last a very long time. So to use it, you can either use it off of the invisible reel, or you can cut the length that you're planning on using, ensuring that you keep enough to be able to easily unload it. Next, you'll want to unload any filament that you currently have fitted to your printer and then remove it. Whilst you can load the cleaner filament through a Bowden tube, that will of course require you to have a long enough piece to reach the end of the tube. If you'd rather not do that, you can either remove your Bowden tube and feed the filament directly into your extruder, or if you've got a splitter like this, just use one of the free entry points. Then load it into your printer like you would any other filament. You can see here it's moving from black PLA to the cleaner filament, and the cleaner filament is turning from transparent to a milky white as it cools down. Now heat your nozzle up to around 10 degrees hotter than the printing temperature of the filament that you're cleaning out of your nozzle. Once it's heated up to temperature, just hit the extrude button on your printer and keep extruding until you've extruded the desired amount of cleaner filament. Once you've extruded the length that you want to, just unload it like you would any other filament. If we take a look at the cleaner filament that I just extruded, even though this nozzle's only had a few uses, you can see that it has cleaned out some black PLA from this nozzle. If you never change to other materials and you're always printing with the same material type, you won't need to use this as often. However, you can still get a clogged nozzle, and this is still going to help prevent that. So I would suggest in that case maybe using the cleaner filament every time you finish a spool. This will help keep things clean and working well. If, however, you are switching between different materials with different temperature requirements, then you're going to want to use this more frequently, potentially as frequent as every other time you change your material type. If you'd like to give this a try, I'll pop the link in the description below. If you found this video interesting or useful, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. It's absolutely going to make my day. If you found this video useful and you'd like to see more from me in the future, why not support me like my wonderful 3D revolutionaries here by hitting the join button below this video and get access to exclusive goodies including the 3D Revolution Discord community. For now, check out some of my other videos, and until next time, thanks very much guys and happy printing.